Welcome back to Big Fellas. How you doing, Mark? You all right?
Yeah, good, mate. How are you? You all right?
Yeah, good. Thank you, mate. Good. Thank you. Busy week. But mate, most importantly, I was watching something on Netflix today. I don't know if you've seen it. The new Louis Theroux documentary,
The Manosphere.
Manosphere.
Yes, I have seen it. Yeah, I thought, maybe we have a different one this week and talk about something quite topical.
Yeah, absolutely, mate. Let's dive straight in, mate. What did you think?
Wow. I mean, what a bunch of bellends all on one documentary. It was a fucking circus is what I thought it was. What about you?
Yeah, I don't disagree with that. Let's go through them, mate, like one by one. So, right. So I'll be honest, mate. Right, and this might be a little bit controversial. I don't know, but there was one guy there who I didn't feel was as bad as the rest. And let me just explain. Let me just elaborate. So, essentially, the American guy, the construction guy, the white guy from America, he was a bit older, and he talked about him and his missus having lanes. So he earns the money. He's the breadwinner. She looks after the kids, changes the nappies, and she doesn't ask him to do that sort of stuff, like he wouldn't ask her to go and get a job. So there was that guy. I didn't feel he was as bad as the others. Now, what I found a bit controversial, and I get it, is the fact that he's in a relationship where basically he can just cheat on his missus and he doesn't hide it. So I don't even know if that'd be cheating.
She's okay with it, isn't she?
I feel like she kind of sold out because she was just a bit like, well, I get the lifestyle. Kind of, that's, I'm all right. I wouldn't say she was all right with it. She was like, if I don't know about it, then don't really care. It's sort of how I see it. Does that make sense? And I thought, well, I do kind of feel that that's down to individual preference. So I think there'll be a lot of couples out there, probably in the UK, certainly where we're from, who wish that they could do that, like who have children at the moment and wish that they had the income to be able to say to your missus, don't worry about working, just stay at home, sort the kids out. I'll go and earn the money. You stay at home. You look after the family. Like it's a bit of an old-fashioned model, right?
I think that's a goal for most hardworking men, wouldn't you say, is to literally provide for the family and, like keep your wife, your girlfriend as a kept woman almost. I mean, in the pressures of today, I don't think that's realistic, but
no.
I mean, if you make it big, then you make some wedge, then you probably would be in that position, or certainly I would be, I think, would I want my other half to sort of stay at home and sort of like do that. I think it's a nice ideal in 2026. I don't think it's realistic.
No. But I think it is for some people, mate. Like I know people who do have the ability to do that, and I do think that there's, at the end of the day, that I think that's down to individual couples, how you want to live your life. If you want to have that. So the lanes thing, I think, is fine. It didn't really bother me that much, to be fair.
Yeah,
I just found it a bit weird that he was like, he almost like took it that little bit too far. That also includes basically I can just sleep with whoever I want and not feel bad about it, and that's her problem and she's all right with it type thing. And I think
it is the irony of that she has to stay loyal to me, but I can do what I want.
Yeah. And that's a bit like, that's...
Now you're being a cunt.
But then I also think she kind of knows that. It's like the equivalent of going home, having cheated on your missus, but, by the way, I cheated on you tonight. And she goes, okay.
Here's your dinner.
Here's your dinner. You probably, I don't know, like, what's the kind of, why wouldn't you, I suppose, if that's the sort of attitude that you get? Like, it just felt a bit weird. I didn't find him as bad as the others. The others I thought were horrible. Like, as you know, Mark, my background is very much around policing, and I worked as part of that in a domestic abuse unit. And the other American guy, the lad in the podcast with the podcast and stuff. Like, I'll be honest, mate, I was getting like, I can't really describe it. When you're an officer and you go to all these domestic abuse related incidents, there's always a bit of an air around the bad ones where there's like an element of control, and you might not be able to pinpoint it, but you feel it. Like, you just know it's there. Body language, just the atmosphere, you just know. And I got that vibe a little bit with him. And I didn't really like the way Louis Theroux went through. Do you know when they were doing the live podcast and he was there and he walked through to speak to like the scheduling girl or something like that?
Yeah.
And he was like, he was on the phone. He'd obviously clocked that he's not here. He's gone through to speak to her and he weren't very happy about it. very much got bad vibes off him. But I didn't really like the way that Louis Theroux was then like, because she basically said to him in not these words, didn't she? Like, can you leave, please? Because he doesn't want you here and you're
Yeah.
getting me told off. And then Louis Theroux did his whole like, I'm just going to stand here, make it really awkward for the camera. And in my head, I'm like, but this is making you as bad as them. In like, it's almost the same thing. I'm going to stand here looking awkward for likes and shares is kind of how it felt. Does that make
Yeah.
sense?
Yeah. No, it was there were some odd moments in it, and certainly I wouldn't say it was all one-way traffic. But before we go too far into it, mate, let's just, for those that may have not seen it or know what this is, what the Manosphere actually is, or what's
Yeah.
being described as the Manosphere. So I've done a bit of digging and a bit of research, and I asked ChatGPT. So basically, the Manosphere is effectively online content aimed at men, which is often centered around dating, confidence, money, and status. And probably the biggest name within the Manosphere is probably Andrew Tate.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I think he is a class A dickhead. Just never, he is, in my eyes, what a 13-year-old boy thinks is the vision of success.
Yeah. Yeah, I'd agree
And
with that.
that's what I see in what it is. And what I wasn't really truly aware of is, until seeing this documentary, is the rise of other content creators like him that are sort of, on the rise, so to speak. I'd never heard of HS Tiki Toki, whoever he is, and the other lad that was walking the streets of Marbella, chatting up girls like he is God's gift and everything. I just looked at those and just saw absolute dickheads, and I'd be embarrassed if my kids turn out like.
So yeah, so like Andrew Tate, I think was the first. He was like the
Yeah.
one who really sort of like spearheaded this culture, I suppose.
Yeah.
And the thing is, mate, when you look at Andrew Tate, I do feel like there's a part of what he says, not much, but some of what he says is quite reasonable. Men should be men. They should be able to look after their women. They should be able to do this. You know, there's nothing wrong with being masculine, and that sort of stuff is fine. But then what these people then do is they take it beyond what is okay, and then it becomes almost a bit racist, a bit misogynist, a bit, it just oversteps the boundaries.
That's
But
the
I
scary
think,
thing, is there's big chunks of what he talks about, which is valid, which is right, which is good.
yeah,
But then it's mixed in with some absolute horror stories as well, isn't it?
it is, yeah, and those lines become skewed. But where I think this happens, if I'm honest, is that if Andrew Tate didn't go across that line, no one would know the name Andrew Tate, because the reality is that that's how you get the likes and shares. Like, mate, our podcast is nowhere near as popular as what an Andrew Tate podcast probably would be, because we're not controversial, and obviously, we're adults. We don't want to be necessarily controversial.
Maybe we should.
Yeah, but that is popular because you're
Sparks debate, and it's getting people talking about it and arguing in the comments, isn't it? I think it's,
mate, if we put something really controversial on now, so like let's look at it like, for example, in the world of politics, right? If you turn around in this podcast and said, I don't know, vote Green, the Greens are going to be great for this country, yeah, then what you'd have is a load of people who see that on the algorithms on, say, TikTok, going, yeah, brilliant, I like you. But what you'd then get is the other people who don't like that coming in.
All reform voters.
Yeah, it'd be a disaster. And what that does is it triggers the algorithm, and that content gets shown to more and more people. It sparks more and more debate, and that's what they're doing. They're quite clever, and that tactic is clearly being used by this sort of HS TikToky, who, to be honest, is just pretty fucking.
So looking at sort of who does the Manosphere attract exactly? And it was basically kind of, I guess it's guys that are down on the luck, struggling, maybe financially, emotionally, physically, lonely, maybe overweight guys that are low on confidence. And scarily, is that attracting some of our audience? I don't know. Do you think Big Spella's listeners are fans of HS Tiki?
No, I don't. No.
No.
I think our audience are probably a bit older, hopefully a bit more wiser. And
But I think what's appealing about this stuff is it's almost passing the buck. It's like it's blaming someone else, like it's not you're not at fault. It's not your fault for the way life's turning out, and we can blame other people for it. That's never a good position. That is making you a bit of a almost produces a bit of a victim mindset, doesn't it?
I agree, mate. Yeah. And I think with things like the Me Too movements and stuff like that, like, we've seen, haven't we, that there's been some situations where women have understandably been treated quite badly, and then it's all come out, and it becomes a bit of a movement. I think it's easy to then turn people against that and say, oh,
Mm.
look, they don't want you to be masculine. They don't see it as a good thing. They see it as negative and stuff like that. And it's all just bullshit. But I think, unfortunately, that is the world of social media, and that's what it's very good at, is dividing us.
Yeah, it really is. You're in one camp or the other. You've got to pick your lane and stick to it almost, haven't you?
Yeah, definitely, mate. Definitely. Yeah, it's really sad, but also it worries me how many kids are involved in this. Like, I think, putting it out there to our listeners, if you've got children that are at secondary school, definitely there will be kids in nearly every secondary school, I imagine, in the UK, who like Andrew Tate and who buy
Yeah.
in what he says. And the problem with that is, if your son or daughter is in that friendship group, then, as always, mate, we all get influenced by our friends and our social peers, don't we? So
Yeah.
it is quite scary. My opinion of it, mate, is that the onus is on us as parents to educate our kids and to make them grow up
To
the
be
way they
better
should.
people. Yeah. Well, that was a big part of it, and something that was they touched on it a bit in the show, and I think this is almost one of the causes of it is the guys that are on. I think all of the guys on there didn't have relationships with their dads. Chess Tiki Toki, he's the son of an England rugby player.
Mm,
Now, I loved him as a player, and he was a great player, but I've lost a heck of a lot of respect for him now. The fact that he didn't show up for his kid.
mm,
Victor Abugu he's a prop for England and played for Bath. And yeah, I don't know obviously the ins and outs of it, but to not be there for your kid, mate.
mm.
Like I said, my marriage ended, but I'm still there for my three kids,
Yeah,
and I
yeah.
couldn't imagine anything other than that.
The show very much made out that his dad wanted nothing to do with him. We know, mate, that sometimes when relationships break down, it's not always
Yeah,
that simple.
no, I accept that. Yeah, but my mantra in life, one of the rules I live by is if something's important, you find a way.
Yeah,
Simple
yeah,
as
no,
that, really. But no, there was a big thing about, um, and sort of some of the content that I've seen after it is these people have, and it was all of them, I think, had grew up without a dad, without a father figure.
hmm
So they've created their own world of this is what being a man looks like. And to be honest, have not had anyone um, to give them guidance or tell them anything else. So they've just created this persona, so to speak.
yeah, definitely, definitely. And do you think that they're doing it well? I suppose in a way, because what the other thing that I thought watching the show, Mark, is that there was a bit in it where this HS TikToky, I think part of his sort of business model is promoting OnlyFans girls,
Yeah,
but then he talks about how little respect he has for them, and how he hates them, and he thinks they're all stupid and stuff.
yeah,
I found it quite amazing that even when he's saying that, he's got those models sat next to him.
yeah.
And it kind of made me think, oh, what is he? Because maybe the OnlyFans side of things we'll come on to in a minute, but like, is he the sort of male equivalent of an OnlyFans model? Just someone who's selling his soul just for some likes, shares, and a bit of cash?
Yes. I think in short, I think that is it. I think there was a few bits that I liked from it was at the end there was some outtakes and it was not outtakes, but there was bits that didn't make the final cut was his mum giving him a bollocking, which I thought was fucking hilarious. But something that she said was, "My son is Harrison, and that's not HS Tiki Toki." And I think he is probably a persona for the camera, isn't he? Is he really like that in real life, or is he just this for this, and this is what he does to make cash?
Yeah, yeah. So it's almost like become his job, and he's just
Yeah,
doing it for likes and shares and
yeah,
therefore money. But the other thing that struck me is that as much as he is doing well out of it, I mean, he's got something like 600,000 followers. I mean, that's a lot of followers. But he's
mm.
hardly the biggest influencer in the world, is he?
No,
That's not huge.
his profile's probably blown up massively off the back of the documentary more than
Mm.
what is. people's profile was before that. Here's a
Yeah.
question for you, though, Darren. Like, do you think when we were teenagers, when we were sort of like 14, 15, overweight lads, probably didn't have the best luck with the ladies, let's be honest, we were at that time. Would these people have inspired you?
That is a good question, to be honest, mate. No, I don't think they would have, to be honest. For me, I don't think they would have. I think there would have been things that resonated because there was, I don't know, Mark. Do you know, like, there's this thing I remember, like, where women tended to pick the shit men, like that. Like, I don't know what it was. They like, just those bad boys, the ones that treated women like shit, seemed to just get so much more luck with the girls. And then you kind of think to yourself, well, it's hard to feel sorry for people when you're constantly making bad decisions. But I don't think I'd have been that extreme, to be honest, mate. I don't. What about you?
I'd like to think not. I think what was different back then to what it is now, and back in our day, God, I sound old saying that,
Yeah,
don't I?
you do,
Back
yeah.
in our
And you
day,
got
when I was a lad,
and you got a grey beard to top it off.
I've got a grey beard. I am old. This is the problem. But in our day, it was this world of toxic masculinity, as they call it. We only ever saw that in films. You know what I mean? We'd watch films like Goodfellas, or obviously got to do the tag to Big Fellas, but we'd watch things. Do you know what I mean? We'd watch like gangster films. We'd watch things like Vinnie Jones on Lock, Stock and Two Smoking Barrels, and that was what being the alpha male and being that horrible bastard that maybe sort of treated women not so great and stuff. That was it. And we saw it in a film and it was in a fantasy world and that. Now, the youth of today, I don't think they watch films like we did. They get their content from YouTube. And so that blows up there instead, doesn't it?
Yeah, I think you're right. Yeah, and that's the thing. If we lived in a social media age, if we were born 20 years later, then there's a good chance, I suppose, that we'd have been swept away with it. And I think that's what makes social media so effective, to be honest. Yeah, no, that's really, really interesting. I tell you, mate, I tell you what, right? One of the things that struck me, though, is the amount of girls who are going on to OnlyFans. Now, I was out for dinner with some friends that you will know, I won't name them, who said that one of them said that he knows 2 girls in Peterborough who are now on OnlyFans. So it's certainly become a recognised way of making money, shall we say. But it struck me that whilst those girls are being told they're stupid, they're this, they're that by this HS TikToky, that they're just sat there smiling. And it's the same, isn't it? I don't care. I'm getting shares. People are going to see me. They're going to probably click onto my page, and some of them will probably buy some content. What would be worse? Your son growing up to be someone like HX TikToky, or your daughter growing up to be an OnlyFans model?
I'd hate to have a daughter that did that. I really would. I've got 3 boys, so
yeah,
I haven't got that fear or that worry, but I'd hate my 3 boys to turn into one of those dickheads. I mean, looking at them and their personalities, I couldn't see any of them ending up like that. I'd maybe worry that they might get influenced by this kind of bullshit. That's probably more my fear, I think. But yeah, well, they're all quite different. So yeah, I don't know. What would you? What do you think?
I don't know, but I do think there's another point to this argument. Now, I get that. I don't know. I was going to say then, by being an OnlyFans model, you're not hurting anyone. But in a way, I don't know.
You
You
hurt
could
your
argue
family. Well, it depends. You'd hate to have like a family member be Bonnie Blue, wouldn't you?
Yeah, this is the thing. It is a bit weird.
I'll tell you what. Go on, so can I just jump in?
Go on.
I have a conspiracy theory about Bonnie Blue. Well, it's not a conspiracy theory.
Go on.
Bonnie Blue's 1,000 Men stunt did not happen, is my view. It's a complete publicity stunt. From what I understand, the footage has never been released, right?
Oh, really?
They've done clips of guys in a queue, but the actual stunt, I don't think has ever been released. And my view is it's just a PR stunt that never happened, but it was spoken about, which caused so much shock and outrage. And she's got mega rich off the back of it.
Yeah, I mean that. Yeah.
Just think of it physically.
Well, as soon as you said that, like, oh, I think it's a publicity stunt, the first thing I went to was, well, surely it's on video. Like, I haven't seen it, but surely is out there somewhere. If it's never been released, then yeah, I would
Don't think
definitely.
it. Well, unless I'm not fully up to speed. The last I heard, it was OnlyFans never put it out because there was too many sort of legal barriers, like whether all the performers were of legal age, were all of the performers
Consenting.
registered, were they all tested for STDs, all of that nonsense. I'm telling you now, that shit did not happen.
Interesting theory, Mark. Interesting theory, and we've gone
Do you
wrong.
think it happened?
Well,
Have you ever thought about it before?
yeah, I'll be honest, I don't know. But again, going back, it is the same thing, isn't it? It's a publicity stunt for like and shares to get exposure, and that's essentially the same as what these people are doing.
Yeah.
Apart from that one guy who's the builder, the builder guy, he wasn't really an influencer in my mind. He was more of a builder. He ran, I think, a steel building company.
Yeah.
But all of the others were just after likes and shares and desperate for it, and would seem to me to be going more and more extreme in order to get attention, essentially. But the problem is, and this is my other issue. I'll be honest, mate. I enjoyed watching the Louis Theroux thing, but as a person, I don't have a lot of respect for him either, if I'm quite honest. And the reason for that, mate, is because what has he done? Because I guarantee you, if that HS TikTok had 600,000 followers then, I bet you he's got over 1 million now.
Oh, yeah.
Because all he's done is shine a spotlight on it.
Yeah.
And don't get me wrong, mate, 99 out of 100 of us will be looking at him going, what a dick. But there will always be that 1% who go, yeah, I agree with him. Yeah, do you know what I mean? Or I'm going to see what he's about. Actually, he's quite reasonable and start to get influenced by it. But
yeah.
And there were, like I said, there was points in that documentary where I felt like, it's a bit weird and perhaps a bit of a controversial thing to say, because I know a lot of people do like Louis Theroux, but he is essentially doing what they're doing to a less controversial and more professional standard.
Yeah.
Like,
that's a very, very good way of putting it, actually.
He's in the same game, likes and shares.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, he wants likes on the net. He wants plays on the Netflix platform. That's it.
Yeah.
Now, the other guy's on TikTok and he's on Netflix. There's your difference. Same game, same behaviour, same process, shall we say.
Probably a bit more in way of compliance, in the sense that Netflix would definitely have looked at that before it went out on the platform, quality checked it, made sure they're happy with it.
Yeah.
I don't think the standard's that high.
Yeah.
And like I said, mate, although I think there's definitely the argument that they will say, well, actually, this is a problem society needs highlighting, and I get that, and I agree with that. But I also think, like, you're giving them a platform. So it's the same theory of when you get a terrorist attack, do you highlight who the terrorist was, what his cause was, why they've done it, or do you actually just focus on the victims and the great work, say, emergency services would have done in trying to save people and the good stories, or do you focus on the negatives? But then, again, by doing that, you're highlighting a cause, and there's always going to be people who get behind that.
No, it's so true. The main thing about these kind of documentaries, though, is it just highlights such an extreme end of society or of a group of people. Like, it's like suggesting, this is a worrying trend of young men in Britain. No, it's not. It's a bunch of dickheads on the absolute extreme. It's like they could send a load of documentary people going to your local pub, and there's a guy who's 10 pints deep chatting all sorts of shit. And then they do a shock documentary saying the inside of the average British pub goer or something like that. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And it's not. It's just an extreme.
That's the other thing I said to my missus after watching this. I was like, back in our day, going back to the old thing, back in our day, you did get people like that, but they were just the dickhead who walked around the pub pissing everyone off, trying to show everything that moved. That's basically, in this modern day, that person who's been empowered through social media to be.
He's got a TikTok account and a few people find him interesting.
Yeah. But as well as I do, mate, there was people in every town. There was like always that one person who would go around shagging whatever he could, was a bit of a lady boy, a bit of a dick, you used to like fighting people and stuff like that. Yeah, I did think that. He's just been empowered through socials nowadays.
Yeah. Just want to go back to like the things that resonate, which were good of what they wanted. Just taking responsibility, improving yourself, and sort of building discipline. There's some good messages in there, and let's try and like bring this to sort of the big fella's position is if you're overweight, those are goals that you should seek to achieve. You want to lose weight, you want to work out, get fitter, build confidence, look better. I think they're all very admirable goals and achievements, so to speak, aren't they?
Definitely, mate. Yeah, like all these lads, they did look after themselves, didn't they? But
Mm.
equally, their job is just to make content as in what they're doing in their life. So they do have a lot of time to sit in the gym
Mm.
bulking up. But yeah, they did that. And, the masculinity thing, generally speaking, I don't think it's anything bad to strive for, to be strong, to be successful, to be all those things that all of us strive to do. And there is an argument, I think, that masculinity is a little bit under attack at the moment, I
Oh,
suppose,
it is.
when you look at the news.
Yeah, it
And
is.
it shouldn't be because in my opinion, it's a positive because a real man, treats women well, treats everyone well, men or women,
Yeah.
and gets on with their lives. But
Mm.
yeah, problem is people just take it to extremes, don't they?
Yeah. Yeah, very much so.
Yeah, yeah, that's it. But I think that my summing up of sort of the whole episode was that for me with my kids, obviously we will educate them as to what healthy relationships are, as to why we should respect men and women and everyone really, and I think education is the key when it comes to your kids. You've got to put a bit of time and effort into them,
A bit
or
of guidance, isn't it?
yeah, well, if you can't do that, you probably shouldn't have had kids, in my opinion. It's yeah, but I think also same with daughters. To be honest, mate, like there is the OnlyFans thing worries me. I'm glad part of me is glad I don't have a daughter. All of these
Mm.
girls come from somewhere, and it seems to be very much on the rise. And I did feel like nearly all of the women on that program. By that I mean some of the models, and then the woman who had sort of just said, "Well, my husband can pretty much do what he wants." They'd sort of taken that approach of, well, actually, so for example, that American lady married to the white American guy. She was an X-ray technician, had a pretty good job, worked pretty hard, and was doing quite well for herself.
Mm.
But decided, actually, I want this lifestyle, so I'm just going to move into that and not worry about anything else. And I don't know. I think that's again something that, as parents, we need to perhaps try and guide our children to the right decision.
Yeah. So let's just focus. What the young men really need.
Honestly,
Go for it.
good role models, mate. So
Yeah.
yeah, so I think young men, when they've got like testosterone pumping through their body, they need an outlet. That's why I'm a huge fan of things like boxing clubs, martial arts clubs, and stuff, because it releases
Yeah.
energy. Sports, it releases energy that I think young people need to stay away from bad things. Positive role models in their life. So, but be that their dad, or if that unfortunately isn't possible for whatever reason, there are other positive role models out there. So,
Granddads, uncles. Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah. Yeah.
or again through sport. So like, my eldest who started jiu-jitsu, the great role
Yeah.
models, mate. The whole, I'm not sure about the instructor, the whole dojo or the whole session is
There's
full.
a brotherhood. There's a community there, isn't there? I think that's important as well. I
Yeah.
think half of the problem with this manosphere bullshit is it's probably targeting guys that haven't found their tribe.
Mm,
They're a bit lonely, and
mhm.
so it's almost like here's your way out and everything. And so I think community is such an important thing. I think it's having.
And like you said, Mark, nearly all of these men who have become these influencers, they're nearly all from sort of single parent backgrounds. If I was a woman listening to this now who is a single mum with a young lad, I would be keen to get them into certain things with those male role models. Not because
Yeah.
you're a bad parent, because there's no doubt
No.
some amazing single mums out there,
Yeah.
but because that positive male role model will do more for them subconsciously than you probably realize.
Yeah.
And I think that's really powerful. So yeah, there's different ways to go about it because relationships aren't always simple, but I do think that's really important.
Definitely, mate. Definitely.
Yeah.
So where do we go from there then?
What's the next documentary?
Yeah. 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 What do you reckon?
I don't know. Like, yeah.
I like this though. It's been a bit different and just having a different conversation,
Mm.
but relevant. And as like I said, as men who post online content, I think we've got a vested interest in talking about this, and I think it's been a good one.
Yeah, definitely. And I think people will have different opinions on it. Like there'll definitely be some people out there who disagree with what I was saying and my view of
Yeah,
it. Probably the same with you.
yeah,
And I'm always quite keen to know what people think. So do comment on the socials because we do
yeah,
we do read all of the comments, don't we, Mark? And
yeah, yeah,
we
yeah.
find it quite interesting what people think. So yeah, let us know what you think. It is well, I say it's a safe space. It's not really. It's social media, so it's sort of open to everyone, isn't it? But we do want to know what you think, and it'd be interesting to see if people have different opinions. And I don't judge people for different opinions, Mark. But
No, 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 no. We welcome it. At the end of the day, it's like I think we were of that generation where you could accept people had a different opinion to you, and that didn't mean you hated them.
yeah, yeah. Or if you did it quietly.
Yeah,
Yeah, but yeah. Well, a good episode. I thought it was good. We got some exciting stuff coming up in the next couple of weeks. I did an interview with Josh, my first ever PT, the other day. That was a good one.
fantastic.
And we've got a few more interesting episodes coming up. So
Yeah.
yeah, let us know what you think in the comments. Be sure to subscribe on our socials and on our podcast. And yeah, we'll see
See you
you
in the
soon.
next one.